ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, robots and robots, everything in between. Welcome to another lovely episode of the tankiest podcast about video games, the Geek Tank. That was a pause for laughter or applause or whatever. But I see that.
Okay.
I see you guys didn't enjoy that.
Hey, Kyle, when you said you're going to be doing a new format, you have to warn us when you're going to do shit like that.
And that's not the new format. That's just me being a terrible human being.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what else is new?
Exactly. What else is new? Kyle's a terrible person. Moving on.
Exactly.
By the way, we are recording on election night. It's going on like right now in the States. So
you said you weren't going to bring it up.
I'm just whoa. I'm just giving everybody a heads up. So, because like if the planet is burnt to a crisp by the time this goes up, we don't know any of that. So
everyone, you're the only ones who can stop the Reapers.
I think it's currently like 180 Trump, like 130 Clinton or something like that.
I think it's 150, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I know Trump just won Ohio.
Yeah, point is...
Which is like the nail on the coffin. But
it's also 200 Ragnarok, so...
200 Ragnarok. I'm down for
Get ready for it. Dude, that sounds like a dope, like, 80, like, retro fusion album.
Everything I always think about is just the ship you fly in Final Fantasy VIII, the Ragnarok.
Is that really? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever even got that far. I always get to the train... And then I'm like, fuck this game.
Oh, the rebel part?
Yeah. Where they're like, oh, it's you from when I danced with. And I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, let's do all this really complicated stuff. I'm like, I don't want to do any of this.
Oh, Renoa, you goof. Either way, I'm your host this week, Kyle Bradford. I'm joined by a couple of my good old buddies. Got Dave and Josh here today. How have you guys been for this whole week that we have not discussed?
Incredibly busy, but I'm okay.
Busy?
All right.
Busy, you say?
I was
video games?
I had yes, but I like all last week I was super busy, and then I was the groomsman at a wedding all weekend, and now I'm back into a week. So I'm really tired, and it's only Tuesday.
I fucking bet.
Yeah, I mean, it's the middle of the holiday season, man. You're gonna be getting games left and right.
I'm looking forward to this weekend when Dishonored 2 comes out, and I fall asleep at my keyboard.
I forgot all about that, by the way. That is so crazy. It's so soon.
Yeah, Friday. Actually, if you reserved it like I did, you get to play on Thursday.
So, whoa.
Yeah, and apparently, Nicole, my lady over here, she ordered the big like special edition for PS4. We bought 2 copies of this game because we're insane people.
Yeah, sounds right.
She bought the crazy special edition with the mask. There's Amazon sending it to her a day early.
Oh, nice.
That's what they said.
Did she just contradict you?
You can just bring Nicole the mic. If
you want. No!
Throw the microphone at her face.
Oh, that's horrible. I'm really upset. So apparently her old credit card was attached to the transaction, and it flipped over. So it canceled her pre-order, and they're sending it Monday now instead.
That sucks.
That's bullshit.
Condolences.
Condolences.
They say condolences.
Sounds like it didn't help.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So
punches a hole in the wall.
I mean, I'll have the game. But you know what else I've been doing?
What's that?
Recently? Really random, but I've been dipping my toe back in the original Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh,
a game that I haven't played in like 10 years, and let me tell you, that thing holds up. It is the best Star Wars game ever made. It's so good.
It's funny you bring that up because I actually I hooked up a bunch. You know me, guys. Like I replay games all the time. So like I just rehooked my original Xbox to my TV in the office that I got here, and I was looking through Amazon, looking like, hey, what Xbox games would I want? And like, you know what? I might get KOTOR, and like hearing you say that makes me just want to jump into it.
Yeah, it starts off, and I'm like, man, this is kind of clunky and old and stuff, and then I got down on like Terrace, that first planet, and I'm like, yeah, this is getting a little better. And then by the time I got down to the cantina and met Mission and Zalabar.
Indeed.
I'm guessing he's saying that he had a newfound love for Wookiees, and
don't we all?
Yeah, I love Wookiees.
Because Zalabar is probably one of the coolest fucking Wookiees.
I would fuck a Wookiee.
Yeah, he's always just trying to eat, and like missions always like, we got to go to this other place, and he's like, God damn it, well, I just want to eat my food.
Yeah, he's such like a stark contrast to Chewie, to be honest. I don't know, like he doesn't
Yeah.
yeah.
It's funny, like, because Chewie is very like loyal, but also kind of stubborn. Zalbar is just like straight stubborn.
Yeah.
I love how you guys
fuck
are just
off.
nerding out over this.
Yeah. Dude, honestly, Knights of the Republic is probably the only piece of EU content I ever really got into and liked. Everything else was like kind of silly, in my opinion. Yeah, I like new canon a lot. I like a lot of that stuff. I read the comics and the novels and the Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff. That's all great. I could never get into the EU because it always felt like a Dark Horse comic, lol, with a Star Wars skin, like
I know what you mean.
Peeled over
I
it.
wasn't
It
really
just
into it.
felt so like this is what a 10-year-old would think was cool. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah.
Tread carefully though. There's a lot of EU fanatics out there.
I know. And if you're out there, I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Speaking of Disney-related things, you guys go see Doctor Strange?
No,
I haven't.
Again, I was at a wedding, so I didn't get a chance to go.
Oh, of course.
Maybe this weekend, though. I really want to go see it because everybody in the office today who saw it said that they really, really liked it. So
yeah, it was really, really fun. I mean, I personally, I have like issues at this point with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, I love going to see these movies still, but like, they're starting to annoy me at certain parts. Like his origin, like Marvel movies have like half of it's an origin, half of it is like, the normal sort of superhero movie. Yeah. And they always rush through what I feel like would either be a great movie if they focused on one or the other. And since obviously they got to set stuff up, but they also have to play nice with the rest of the MCU, they had to do sort of both. So like for me, I would love to see like a straight origin of Doctor Strange that was like dealing with his depression and shit that he goes through. I know that sounds boring to most people, but for me, I'm like, that would be awesome. And then like he goes to the East and, finds all this magical shit and his like mind's opened and all this stuff. But it is super fun. I love the visuals. They're all shown off in the trailer practically, so don't go in expecting to see more other than like maybe a couple of set piece moments. But it is without a doubt, even with all that stuff, it's super fun. I absolutely loved it. So
nice. Yeah. I mean, I kind of agree with your like the Marvel movies are fun to watch, but they're pretty much a known quantity at this point. You're like, I know what I'm getting.
Yeah, the novelty is kind of worn off.
Yeah, structurally, it's like you can see everything coming so easily. It's like, I will say though, the final like little confrontation in the movie is absolutely genius. I loved it. I was totally smiling the whole time. So, Dave, did you do anything?
For the most part, I've just been playing Titanfall 2 and just working on a new project for my YouTube channel for the most part.
Teases. Are you going to talk about it, or you want to stay quiet?
I don't know. Should I talk about it? I mean, it's
up to you.
It's going to be out probably, judging by whenever we get the intro done, Kyle. It should be out sometime this month. If any of you are interested, the project's called Giant Robots Rock. Basically, if any of you have seen Linkara's History of Power Rangers videos, where he literally like goes absurdly in depth with Power Ranger series and like analyzes the crap out of them, that's essentially what I'm doing as well, but with mecha anime. So I'm starting this whole
fucking awesome
adventure of mine off with Gundam Seed, and at the time of recording, the voiceover, I'm not even done editing, but the video's already gone past 2 hours. So
wow,
yeah, it's a long ass fucking video. And I hope you guys like it. If I get some positive feedback from it, I'm gonna keep going with it. But for now, this is pretty much just a pilot thing I'm doing.
Dude, I'm fucking hyped now. Jesus, Gundam Seed too. Wow,
sounds cool.
I'm into it.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Other than Gundam, have you been exploring? You know what? It's so fucking weird you bring that up because this is gonna tie in actually to something perfectly later on in the show.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I'm just gonna leave it there.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen. This is the Geek Tank, a show where we dive right into the trenches of the gaming industry, give you our brutally honest opinions. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, every other platform, every single week. If you like listening to this, please make sure you leave us a like or a favorite. Just let us know you enjoy the show, because whether it's your first or your 23rd time listening in, you're an honorary member of the battalion. 23. Can you believe it? We're not only old enough to drink, we're old enough to be 2 years older than the year that we drank.
And in California, soon. old enough to smoke some weed.
And we're almost old enough to rent. We are almost old enough to rent a car, guys.
I know.
Almost.
Actually, I think that's a myth. Like I've heard that like you can, it's just more expensive.
No, I think it's actually a law. I don't know.
I have never rented a car before.
I've tried to.
Yeah, I also have never rented a car. However, I'm 26, so my time for scientific inquiry is gone.
You fucking old man. Oh wait, hold on. I'm 23. This is episode 23. I'm hosting episode 23.
Whoa, it's like your birthday.
Kyle's
it's a sign. Pretty soon, Kyle's gonna be like Jim Carrey in that fucking movie.
Whoa, Jesus.
You don't remember that movie 23 where he's like going crazy? He's like,
yeah, that's not good. It's like fucked up shit happens in that movie.
I don't know what you're talking about, and I kind of don't.
Take it back.
You don't need to know. Dude.
Okay,
it's not a very good movie.
I'll leave it at that then.
All right. All right. Without any further ado, let's get into it. News of the week. Ooh.
Oh.
What band is that? I don't even know.
Disturbed.
Yeah, Disturbed. Yeah.
Drowning deep.
Who actually did a really good cover of "Living After Midnight" by Judas Priest.
I don't believe you because I hate Disturbed, but that's fine.
No,
really,
actually,
I saw them live once, and they were actually like super good.
I don't want to
no,
I'm not even that big of a. I'm not even that like huge a fan. But they actually like were. They played a good show.
I'm glad you had fun.
Yeah, they're written.
It was at a Slipknot concert. Funny enough.
Oh, God, Slipknot.
I'll say just keep naming bands I don't really care for.
Yeah, let's just move on. I don't want to deal with this. All right. So we're going to be doing news of the week a little bit differently here because it's been sort of a slow week, but a couple of big things have happened. So we're going to actually just talk about a couple of big topics out here before we move into the actual topic of the show. So first off, last week, you may have noticed BioWare teasing something for their upcoming game. You may have heard of it, Mass Effect Andromeda, across social media and all that stuff, preparing for November 7th, otherwise known as N7 Day. Lucky us, BioWare finally dropped the bomb, revealed a hefty amount of information along with a sick-ass cinematic trailer. So we got a couple of deets for you here. I'm going to read through them. And then
Drop those deets.
Let's talk about the deets.
Deets.
First off,
deets.
It just sounds dirty for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah. Maybe it's just because it's coming from my mouth.
What's always
and I'm
dirty
just a dirty human being.
Everything that comes from your mouth is dirty. So let's go.
So a couple of these are story related. So the Andromeda Initiative is a one-way trip from the Milky Way galaxy to the neighboring Andromeda galaxy, meant to expand the civilizations of the Alliance and the Mass Effect universe. So that's going to be the plot of the game. You take control of one of the two Ryder twins after their father, the designated Pathfinder of the Andromeda Initiative, is, for whatever reason, unable to continue his position. You also get to pick between the two twins, either male or female. Let's see, the Andromeda Initiative begins somewhere in between Mass Effect 2 and 3, but continues 600 years after that. So,
right,
leaving something there to talk about later. Other confirmed party members include PB and Asari, a human ex-cop who's yet to be named, and other unknown squad mates from the new Andromeda species, which is plural. So it sounds like we're getting a whole bunch of new alien races.
Oh, that's exciting.
Romance options are also not limited by your gender in the game. Loyalty missions will play another big role in Mass Effect Andromeda, but will also be optional. And the last little important bit, the morality system is being completely revamped, losing the old Paragon and Renegade options. So there is still a lot more that you can look at. It's been discussed on the producer Michael Gamble's Twitter account. The new Game Informer cover story coming out in December is going to have a bunch of stuff. And BioWare themselves have spoken a little bit more about it, but that's all we'll dive into now. So from this...
Okay, so I have a quick question. What do you mean by the choice? The romance choices are not limited by... It's not like Dragon Age 2, is it?
That's what it sounds like. I can't confirm anything. I can't confirm it.
Inquisition does that too. I mean, it's
Inquisition has like specific characters have specific like
not everyone's bi,
and they have specific like preferences.
I think that's what they mean because I don't think they would make everybody because that'd just be.
I hope not because they made it sound like I was at a panel with them and they made that sound like that was a big mistake.
Yeah, I remember you talking about that, and I do think that would be the case, especially since like it feels, at least in my opinion, Andromeda is taking a lot of inspiration from Inquisition, at least structurally, maybe not mechanically. So I'm definitely leaning towards that end. But I mean, that was how the wording was, and that wording sounds like, we're going, everyone's bi for whatever reason.
I hope
so.
not, because I
Everyone is
have nothing against people being bi. I'm just saying that like it can't be everybody. I mean, that's just that's just not realistic.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah.
Side note, actually, side note on Dragon Age 2, I actually accidentally hit on Anders, like not realizing that there was like a gay option in Dragon Age 2. So like I thought the love was like, oh, we're gonna be friends, and then all of a sudden he fucking like just shoves.
Oh, you were gonna be friends, all right?
Yeah. All of a sudden he just like shoves his tongue down my throat, and I'm like, what the fuck?
All of a sudden, yep. That happened to me.
Shoved his tongue down my throat, and I did not say no.
I mean, I did that with Zidane in Dragon Age 1, which is a little bit of my fault. I should have seen that coming. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should have. You should have read the signs.
No.
Can't you? I mean, can't you do it with the Iron Bull in the?
Yeah, you can. You really? You can tongue blast Freddie Prinze Jr. if you want.
Jesus Christ! Can you imagine having sex with the Iron Bull?
You don't even imagine it because you can do it.
Yeah, you can do it in Dragon Age.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? There's got to be some Iron Bull source filmmaker porn out there.
I bet you there is. It's probably on some dark corner of the internet.
Here ahead, Google. After this episode.
Yeah, okay, Google.
Okay. Find me Iron Bull.
Iron Bull porn.
How big is his dick? All right. But Mass Effect Andromeda. I am a little bit hesitant on the idea of just exploring Andromeda completely, because the initiative has like 5 ships. So there is a main ship, which I guess just has your party or whatever, but then there are 4 other ships that have each individual race that is going along with you on this initiative. And one of my favorite things for Mass Effect was the world building they did, and I love like the Citadel and the Alliance and all that stuff. And it felt very like Star Wars in the scope of its depth, I guess.
It seems almost like, and to me, it seemed almost like when they're showing like that big ship, like the actual ship, I think is what it is, the big 4-pronged one. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like the ship that you are kind of controlling is almost like a Citadel-esque kind of ship.
I agree. Yeah. And they've said that you're going to be talking to a similar. Oh God, who are the fucking 3 dudes that you talked to from the Alliance?
Council,
or not the Alliance, sorry, just the Citadel.
The council.
Yeah, they had like the council or whatever.
Yeah, the council. Yeah, there's like a similar council here, but I feel like because it's just going on this different story event, and also probably just because like I'm not saying that there's any other way they could have done it, just because the events at Mass Effect 3, but just knowing that like a lot of that's getting thrown out the window, I'm a little bit upset with. But like still, the possibilities there are endless, and I really enjoyed Inquisition.
From what I understand, like there's going to be some like tiny nods to the trilogy, but not anything not anything plot related, because like
I mean they've said over and over again that this is like a reboot of they're not rebooting, but it's like it's a start. It's a
new start.
It's a new start. Yeah.
Or just a new kind of which I think every series kind of needs to do from time to time.
And I'm okay with Andromeda having that, because 3 was kind of like its natural end of the Shepard arc, really.
I'm also really interested in how combat's going to work. They've also spoken about how like you're not going to have classes anymore. You're just going to have a skill tree, and you slowly evolve that into the class that you want. And I don't know how I feel about that specifically, especially right now, because sometimes I feel like I would love to just have a specified class, and other times I like just defining my character as I will. But I think that would be a fun idea to play with, since they're also throwing out the morality system and doing something what sounds like a little bit more in depth. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it would be kind of cool if like they did and I've seen more games do this lately. They do kind of the Diablo 3 option where like you have a class, but like there's so many ways to like play your character inside of that class that you can change that at any time. Destiny sort of does this too, where it's like, okay, you're a Titan, but then there's these 3 other classes that all do something completely different, and you can change it any time. I would like that. I don't like the idea of like picking this and this is set in stone, because like Dragon Age Inquisition did that, and I got 20 hours into that and realized, wow, rogues are really boring to play.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And I wanted to be a mage, but you can't just like.
Yeah, you got to start the whole game over.
Yeah, you got to start the whole thing. I was like, I'm not willing to do that. So.
Are you guys playing male or female writer?
I usually try to make the guy, like the person, look like me. So I. Like even in MMOs, my main is always like a dude who is just, you know, kind of just looks like me or something. But then like usually my alts, 90% of them are always like women for some reason. Because it's easy for me to be like, this isn't my main character when I look at them. This is my.
Yeah, I feel you.
And also sometimes like the women models always look way cooler. Like I feel like in like Diablo, the female character models all look way cooler than the male ones. I don't know why.
Yeah,
they just do.
Yeah, I remember a lot of people loving FemShep, and I played through the original trilogy with just the normal male shepherd, and like I didn't want to have to go back and replay everything just because I was so attached. So this time I feel like I'm probably just going to run through as fem writer, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, that also has a lot to do with.
And also, I liked the voice actress for FemShep better than the.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to bring up. Is that Jennifer Hale had a much more, I guess, involved performance than Mark Muir did. Even though I don't bash Mark Muir at all, but like Jennifer Hale's performance was a lot better.
Yeah, hers was definitely the one that got the most praise.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just going back to like the trailer specifically. It was a pretty short trailer. It was actually shorter than I thought it was going to be. It was only like a minute and a half.
I know.
And I know some people were pissed about that. Most of the people I talked to, including myself, were actually really happy that they didn't show a lot. I feel like they showed just enough for me to be like, sweet. You know, this is like coming out in the spring. So like in the next 5 months, basically.
That is rumored, by the way. We should redact what we talked about last week. Because they do not have a concrete date. That has been
I thought they said that at the end of the trailer. It says spring 2017.
Oh, that's true. I'm sorry.
So then the next 9 months.
The March date that we talked about last week. That's what I meant specifically.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. I'm stupid.
Yeah, I don't know why I always think of like January through March as spring, but that's not really spring. So that means sometime in the next like 8 months.
Yeah, it's still soon.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, still like not far off, and there's plenty of stuff to do between that. So like you don't need to get. And honestly, I bet you it comes out after Oh wait, E3's not.
Do you guys think there's any chance of this getting pushed?
I could see it.
No.
Didn't they come out? They came out and said that they would if they had to, right? That was BioWare, right?
Well, yeah, if they had to, but
especially since it's EA.
They've been working on it for so long. I can't imagine. It looks like, oh, seems like you're good to go. I don't know. But
yeah, I mean,
we'll see.
Just knowing what happened with Inquisition, like I could see it, because that game was supposed to come out a while before it did, right?
That's true. It got delayed. It was because it was Dragon Age 3, and then there was a big switch up change where they changed it to Inquisition, and there was like a whole, there was like a delay, like a big delay, like a whole year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that happening with this. This seems pretty set in stone. It's been long enough. So long. It's been so long since Mass Effect 3. So
it's been 4 years. So
yeah.
Hopefully,
so I say too.
I think
spring's a good time. Spring's an awesome time for a game like this.
Yeah, exactly.
Not a whole lot's really out unless you take like stuff that got pushed. But I would say for the most part, 2016's been nailing it. Like keeping it within the year, anyways.
Also, with the few visuals that they showed, this game definitely looks like a PS4 Pro like system seller, kind of Scorpio system seller kind of thing, because it looks damn good.
Dude, I fucking love that fucking oh god, I feel so dumb right now. I almost called it the Blizzard engine. Not the Blizzard engine.
Frostbite engine.
The Frostbite engine, yes.
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ. I'm sorry.
Well, that's what, I mean, honestly, like, that's probably like the best. I was about to say something really mean. What I'm saying is like one of the best things they got out of the acquisition of DICE is the Frostbite engine. Like that's just like it's
for sure. Yeah, they've implemented that very well.
The way I was going to word that though was like, well, the greatest thing they got from DICE was the Frostbite engine, which is just mean.
Well, but
I mean, DICE is okay, but that
is a
Frostbite.
great developer, I think. You know,
yeah, absolutely. I think they've proven themselves for a while, but I mean,
but
otherwise,
like I said, my forwarding was going to be wrong there, but I stopped myself.
You got it, Dave.
I got it.
You got it, bro.
Are we thinking day one purchases? Anybody?
For Andromeda? Hell yeah,
for sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not a Mass Effect hater. I love them all.
I'm not a hater at all.
So I'm excited. Yeah, I'm very excited.
We should talk about like when it gets closer to Andromeda. Like I do love Mass Effect, but I do want to have like a talk about 3.
We can do that. I'm sure everybody has opinions about 3.
Yeah. Because there's clearly there's clearly some difference of opinion here, and I just don't want to dive into it now because we've got plenty of other things.
That's such giant.
We'll be here forever, probably.
Literally.
I mean, that's just an estimate, but I'm thinking probably forever. So
just an estimate.
I'm gonna say, we should just play.
Yeah.
Good reminder also for anybody who's listening. Mass Effect 2 and 3 just became backwards compatible on Xbox One. So
yes, they did.
Yeah, I'm thinking about jumping back.
The first one did too.
First one has been for a while.
Yeah, that was like one of the first games that came out for backwards compatibility.
Gotcha. Well, then never mind, everybody.
So yeah, good stuff all around.
The whole trilogy.
All right, moving on to the next news story we got over here. It's that time of the week, as we always do. We turn to our resident Blizzard fan, Josh. I like Necromancers Mobley.
Me. Oh, yes, he said Necromancers. I do love me some Necromancer. Let me tell you what.
Buddy. So that's just a tease of what you have to give us. Give us a recap.
BlizzCon. It happened last week. Everybody in the IGN office, we were all pretty much just watching. By the way, that comment when Mike Morheim was like, "How many of you watched the Warcraft movie and loved it?" We all laughed.
Oh no.
And then I yelled, I saw it.
I did indeed view it.
1 out of 2. Not too bad.
Yeah. So, okay, let's just start from the beginning. We got Overwatch announcements, which, by the way, Overwatch stole the whole show, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Diablo had some cool stuff, although a lot of people on, like, the Diablo subreddit were, like, really mad that there was no D4 and no, like, and no big expansion, because this Necromancer thing, not an expansion.
Well, that just means they're working on
a friend of mine on Twitter was very confused. She was very angry. She loves Diablo. She was very angry.
So hold on. What is this Necromancer thing you talk about?
So they announced that the Necromancer's coming out for Diablo 3. If you own Reaper of Souls, you're going to buy a separate character pack, is what they called it. They didn't announce... Oh, I just dropped something. They didn't announce a price, although my guess is anywhere from $9.99 to $14.99. Because all it comes with is... It comes with 2 extra character slots, the Necromancer class, and then it comes with like an extra stash tab and some other item, like quality of life kind of stuff to help you like, oh, now I have space for all this Necromancer stuff that's about to drop. And then it also comes with something else I'm blanking out on, but it's like not an expansion. Like there's not a campaign. There's not any like thing else really. It's just like, you know, here's $10, you get a new character class and a bunch of extra kind of stuff. And honestly, if they released one of those every year, I'd buy them. Like, I buy them all the time. I've been playing a lot of Diablo 3 lately with some people and having a freaking blast. So,
well, look at you.
Game's great, man, and it's such a good game to like put down for a couple months and then come back and just blow stuff away. It's good times.
What are you playing on?
PC.
Right on.
Yeah.
I assume as much.
They also announced that these seasons, which previously were never going to come to consoles, are now coming to consoles. So,
oh, really?
So now you'll be able to compete in seasonal play on the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4, and that means that you'll be able to re-roll brand new characters and play in the season, complete specific goals. You'll earn like portrait pennants and flags and pets and armor sets and all that, and compete on the leaderboards if you're one of those weirdos. So
leaderboards.
Yeah, dude, Diablo leaderboards are like serious business.
I can't even fucking imagine.
Yeah, it's like a couple of clans. It's like maybe like 5 to 10 clans that like really take it seriously, and they basically all compete for. There's a bunch of different leaderboards every season that launches. It's like first person to max level, first person to beat, this boss on Torment, first person to, or like, fastest act completion time. Like all these different categories that you can compete, and like clans will designate like certain members to get like certain places on the leaderboards, and they'll all compete and stuff. Pretty cool. I love that thing that exists. I'd never take part in it because it means that all I would play is Diablo. Probably hate myself. But yeah, that's pretty much all the Diablo news. The other thing they announced, which initially I got really excited about, and then after playing it on the PTR today, I'm a little disappointed in it, honestly. They announced that like my favorite game of all time, Diablo 1, they're like, we're remaking it inside of Diablo 3, and everything's going to be all pixelated, and you're going to fight all the original bosses and do all the original stuff and get exclusive rewards and all these things. And I'm like, this sounds amazing. Sign me up. They put it on the PTR today. I played through the entire thing for footage because I was working on stuff. And
footage, right?
Yeah. No, honestly, yeah, that's why. But and it was kind of disappointed because it's not really a full-on remake. It's just like a dungeon with a lot of the same elements. And granted, like they took like a lot of the art and stuff looks kind of the same, and the pixel thing's kind of cute, and they have you do get legendaries and stuff that only dropped in this event. Like you get the stone that like the main character shoves into his skull like at the very end. They when you beat it, they play the ending from Diablo 1, like the original cutscene and stuff. And I thought that was pretty neat because there's probably most of the people playing Diablo 3 have probably never played Diablo 1, but like the way they pitched it is just not accurate at all, which is why I was very disappointed. They were like, this is a remake, and
so it's confirmed just like one dungeon. That's it?
It is basically one.
Damn.
It's 16 excuse me. It's 16 levels down.
So hefty. So it's hefty?
Yeah, I played on a lower difficulty with my like main Diablo character who's like Paragon 281. So he's like really strong. And I bumped the difficulty way down so I could just blast through it because I needed to get specific shots and stuff. And it took me like an hour. I think if you rolled a brand new character and tried to play through it, it would probably make it take longer. And they even said like, that's the way you should do it because it makes it take longer or whatever. But yeah, they kind of like lied about it. I don't want to say they lied. They did not pitch it correctly, is what I'll say.
Do you think this leaves the option in for them doing this again, like a different dungeon?
Maybe. I mean, they said that that this event is going to be yearly, so they're going to bring it back every year now as like a thing, and it's going to have so. It's on the PTR right now. If you want to go play it there, it doesn't go live until January. And I mean, ultimately, it was fine. It was fun, But I have some like. I think most of my issues don't come from it itself. It comes from what they promised it, or not promised, but like said it was. And what they said it was isn't quite what it is. It's like
oversold it.
Yeah, it's like you oversold this so much. But anyway, that's pretty much all the Diablo stuff. They're doing a bunch of quality of life things that you guys probably don't care about. If you're a big Diablo nerd, just go to the Battle.net blog. They'll tell you about all the crafting recipe changes and things that like I got all excited about that nobody really cares about. I am a nerd. I'll leave Overwatch last because it had honestly the biggest presence at the show. Hearthstone is getting a new expansion next month, and it's like I can't remember what it's called, but it's basically like this 1920s, 1930s kind of like gangster speakeasy vibe thing with all these like goons and stuff. Oh, it's like the Mean Streets of Gadgetzan, I think is what it's called. So like all the it's all about like smuggling booze, and there's like all these like they're
Oh,
smuggling
yeah, yeah, I
magics
saw
and
this.
things, and they have all these like hats and monocles and like the suspenders and ties and stuff. It looks fun. I love how Hearthstone takes the Warcraft lore and like has tons of fun with it. It looks cool. I usually dip back into Hearthstone every time an expansion comes out, so I will probably be pre-buying like one of those $50 things where I get like 50 packs and stuff, so I can just bust them all open and start making decks. But
That's gotta be so fucking satisfying.
it is
Ah,
because
jeez.
I'd never done it, and I'd always had trouble. And then when I did it for Whispers of the Old Gods, I bought the $50 thing and got, or it might be 40. I think it's $40 and you get 50 packs, something like that. And I got the 50 packs. I opened them all, and I got like probably 80 to 90% of everything I needed to start just making like new decks, basically. So
Jeez.
that helped a lot. And then you're like, oh, now I kind of know what this expansion's all about. So that was cool. Let's see what else. WoW was like some other really nerdy stuff that you don't need to get into.
That expansion just came out, so yeah.
Expansion just came out. Yeah, they're just like, hey, 7.1 just came out. 7.2 is coming down the road, like a month or two from now. And 7.3, they announced 7.3 basically, but they're like, but it's like farther off, like sometime next year. But sorry. But yeah, they were like, you're gonna basically go to the world of like the Burning Legion and fight them and all that stuff. But they basically just set out like a WoW Legion roadmap at BlizzCon, which sounds not like a lot, but it's kind of a lot for World of Warcraft, because especially with like the insane content droughts they've had in the past two expansions. So the fact that they have like this expansion has like so much content in it, and then they're like, here's our roadmap for the next year to keep you engaged. Right. It's kind of a big deal. So that was cool. StarCraft, they basically said they didn't really announce anything that was going to save the Korean StarCraft scene. They were basically just like, here's new co-op. Here's new co-op characters. There's going to be new co-op maps. And then on top of that,
give me like the Spark, because I'm not involved in this at all. Could you give me like the Spark Notes version of why the Korean scene for StarCraft is gone?
It's not gone. It's just kind of dying because.
So why?
Like the game's just like not evolving. Like with a game, like, well, what's a good example? With a game like League, a new character comes out maybe every month and a half. That adds new life into the game, and then they also constantly are patching the game and like changing balance and stuff. So it keeps the game interesting, right?
Yeah.
StarCraft doesn't really have that. They get like a balance patch like maybe once a year. Damn. And the game's kind of old, and there's no expansions on the horizon. There's nothing really going on. Like there doesn't seem to be really a future. Really, so people are kind of like a lot of Korean StarCraft pros are like switching to Overwatch or Hearthstone, or switching to like just other games entirely. Overwatch is getting huge.
Oh yeah, I know that. Well, I mean that's just true for every country pretty much.
Yeah. So yeah, they didn't really announce much for StarCraft. Then they announced like, we're gonna be making more of those like Nova mission pack things. Are they really? So look for those, and it's like cool, I guess. So yeah, like whatever. Heroes of the Storm is getting 2 new characters and like a new mode thing. So whatever.
I saw that trailer.
Yeah, so King Varian Wrynn and Ragnaros are going to be in the game, which are 2 like highly requested, important World of Warcraft characters. And then there's Overwatch, which had a huge presence.
Yeah.
At the show. So the first thing they announced, well, the way they did it was so clever. I loved it. So what they did was, Mike Morhaime was like, we launched Overwatch this year and it was so great and everything's been so great. Here's like a tiny documentary look back on like how the launch went and all this. And we're just like, all right, so we're sitting there watching it. And then it's for like 2 minutes. That's totally what it is. It's like Jeff Kaplan, the game director, and like all the people on the server side. They're like, we're just getting ready for people to log on, like to Overwatch for the first time. And then they show like a screen and like it's all this code and like red code. And they're like, this is what happens when like everything's breaking. And like Jeff Kaplan's like, this is like a really important moment for us. We don't want to screw it up. And all of a sudden the audio like starts to get all weird. Yeah. And mess up. And everyone in the office thought that the stream broke. So everyone's like, oh no, or whatever. But then it starts glitching out and doing all this crazy stuff. And then the Sombra logo shows up. And then everybody was like, blah! And then they showed the her animated short. Like went right into that. It was so smart.
Explain like the whole Sombra situation. Like, how did this start?
The Sombra thing, I have barely kept up with it, but I'll tell you what I know. And what I know is that there was basically this ARG built into the game where there was like all these codes and maps and like weird stuff was happening, and basically it was leading to this character named Sombra, and people were like, she must be a hacker or some other stuff, and like people were on the lookout for her, and they're like, when is she going to come out? And this ARG has been going on for literally months.
Yeah,
people are like,
teased for a while.
Sombra was rumored before even Anna.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is weird.
So people thought Anna was Sombra for a while, and then they realized that they are not one and the same. And then it's been forever. And then people were like, where the hell is Sombra? Where did she go? Why is she not here yet? And then basically she got announced there. They showed her trailer, a little bit of her gameplay and stuff. And she went live on the PTR yesterday. So you can actually play as her right now if you go download the public test realm version of Overwatch in your Battle.net app. I've played as her. She's awesome.
Oh, man.
I think that she will have a really cool impact on the competitive scene because she literally can just turns off like people's abilities, breaks like Zarya and Reinhardt shields. She like warps around. She can go invisible and like runs way fast when she's invisible. She's awesome. She's crazy awesome.
Role? Is that what she is?
She is an offense.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Taking down Reinhardt's shield, that sounds crazy.
It's her ult, basically. Her ult is like she shuts off all abilities and just like breaks a bunch of stuff. Like, Jesus. but you have to be like near it. You have to like go invis, sneak around, like come up behind people, and then go like, okay. It's like a big cloud, cool. Basically. You just go like, right. And then like stuff within the cloud gets hacked. And I was playing on the new 3v3 mode, which I'll talk about in a little bit. And I basically like, and the maps are like symmetrical and stuff. I basically went invisible and I went behind enemy lines and I saw that there was like a Reinhardt and there was a Mercy like healing him. And I hacked Mercy so she couldn't use her abilities, and then like uncloaked and started just like laying into her. And then like sick. My teammates came in when the Reinhardt turned around, realized what was going on. And so it's super cool. She is going to be really fun to watch. However, I'm scared because there's going to be so many people who think they're good at Sombra who are not good at Sombra, and they're going to pick Sombra, and it's going to be bad. But
I mean, that's every class in Overwatch, dude. Yeah. I mean, you can't.
Yeah, and get ready because quick play now is going to have the thing that competitive play has, where you can only pick one character per team.
Thank God for that.
Okay. And for the people that were complaining, in that new arcade mode, there's a specific brawl that is basically quick play without that hero limit. So you still have your avenue to play the way you've been playing the entire time.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Yeah. Like, can I still do the 6-man team?
To play 6 divas just flying.
6 divas.
Nerf this, nerf this, nerf this.
Yeah.
Suck.
We are Legion, nerf this. But yeah, Sombra, really cool. Dig her a lot. She's super cool. The other things they announced were like the arcade mode, which is basically just a bunch of different game modes that you can play, and for every win in each mode, well, in specific modes, okay, so there's like a 1v1, a 3v3, and then there's like a 6v6 one that's like a bunch of different stuff. The 1v1 mode is really interesting. So it's literally just you and one other person on this symmetrical map, and it randomly picks a character for both of you to play. So you're always the same character. So, and it's round based. So you have to win 5 rounds. So like you'll pop in, it'll be like round 1, Hanzo. So you're both Hanzo, and you're just like firing
awesome.
arrows. And then when you die, and like let's say you won the round, it starts a new round. It picks a totally different character, and then it's like, all right, round 2, you're both D.Va. So then you're like both fighting as D.Va, and it could be anybody. Like you could be Mercy, and it'd be like 2 Mercies just fighting. Like
funny.
That just sounds.
The funniest one that happened to me is I was playing and it was like Bastion, and I'm like, oh god. And it was not fun. That one was not fun. But the 1v1 mode, really interesting, and then the 3v3 mode, which I actually think has the chance to become like its own competitive scene. Honestly, it's like elimination. You can only pick one specific hero per team. So it forces you to make these like really specific hero comps with each other, and then play really there's also no health packs like on the map at all, and it's elimination. So if you die, you're out of the round unless there's Mercy there to revive you or something. And basically it's like really hardcore and like really involved and really intense, and I am really convinced that like there could be like specific leagues in Overwatch esports that are just 3v3 elimination, because I think it is probably way more interesting to watch just from an esports scene, because it's way more tense and it's a lot slower than normal Overwatch, which can get kind of crazy sometimes. Oh, yeah. It's like really like methodical and planned out and stuff. It's like, okay, we have this specific comp, you know, we're gonna do this specific thing, and then maybe next turn you're like, all right, they're probably gonna, Reinhardt worked really well for them last time, they're probably gonna do it again. How do we counter that? Because you get to pick a new comp every round, basically. So
I
like,
like
all
the
right,
idea of just more intimate fights in Overwatch too.
Yeah,
I think that 3v3
exactly.
is just gonna help mitigate that chaos that tends to happen usually.
Exactly. But and then there's some other like just fun modes that you can play. The great thing that I love so much about this is because when you get in the upper ranks, it becomes such a grind to get loot boxes.
Yeah.
You're finally going to get your fucking loot boxes. Let's just put it that way. So the first 1v1 game you win each week, you get a loot box. The first 3v3 game you win each week, you get a loot box. I think it's the same for the 6v6 one as well. But then on top of that, you have these 9 little bubble counters in the top corner of like that arcade screen. Every 3 wins you get, when you fill that up each week, you get another loot box. So you have the potential to get 6 loot boxes a week just from playing 9 games. Jesus. Which is fucking awesome. Like, finally, you know? And it makes you, you know, spread out into other modes. You don't just want to sit in competitive, or you don't just want to sit in quick play. You're actually like, you know, we'll spread out to the other modes and like get a little bit more variety. So I think honestly, arcade and like the 3v3 mode are like the best thing to happen to Overwatch since it came out. It's so awesome. Like I playing on the PTR made me go, man, I want to play more Overwatch, but I need the PTR to like go live so that I can play this for real and not on the PTR. You know what I mean? Because you don't get to keep anything you earn. So I'm just like, please, like, make this come out as fast as possible, because I want to play this like live on the servers like right now. Yeah, it's just super cool. So if any of this sounds curious to anyone, go download the PTR and try it out, because it's fucking awesome. So cool. And then the last, Go ahead.
I was just gonna ask. I wonder, since we're just talking about Overwatch and all this stuff, because I'm actually feeling, just from all this news, jumping back into it. I haven't actually played a whole lot, especially from the Halloween update. I just didn't really care. Have you guys been playing a lot?
Not really.
I played, recently, yeah. Because actually Brian from Platformers, shout out to Brian.
Insert incredible metal music that they have.
I and intro. Nicole have been playing.
You guys listen to their podcast, by the way? Have you heard like the intro they have for that?
Yeah,
it's like sick. It's like literally what like you guys would think I would write for the Geek Tank intro, but it's. I was just like, holy fuck.
Time to get him to sign some papers.
Yeah.
No, he and Nicole and I have been playing like a ton of Diablo, and we've also been dipping into Overwatch and having a lot of fun playing Overwatch.
Oh.
And what I mean, what's great about that game is like, you know, you can just kind of like you can take a break and you can hop back in, and it's like you never left, you know?
Right. Yeah.
It just all kind of feels good. Although I feel like, and I don't know, I haven't checked. I think Farah got a buff on the PTR. I think her boosting is a lot faster, because when I played as her in 3v3, it felt a lot stronger than it usually does. I was like, I feel like I'm flying a little higher.
I don't know. But, I usually suck ass with Farah, so I try not to pick her.
Me too, because I'm not good with her at all. But then I know people that are like maestros with her.
I know, right? Like, they're just so good at aiming that rocket. I'm like, I try to aim for splash damage, and usually I fuck it up. So
yeah. Although I had when I was doing the 1v1, we got Farah, and I got a mid-air rocket kill, and I felt like it was like orgasmic. I was like, oh
snap.
God.
Orgasmatron.
Oh man.
Okay, so the last piece of Overwatch news, because we're gonna get a little long on the tooth on BlizzCon. Last piece of Overwatch news was that they announced the Overwatch League, which
yes.
I personally at first was like, okay, but then as I thought about it, I thought, you know what, this is like the best thing to happen to esports since like the Dota 2 International probably. What this is it's a Blizzard run, operated Overwatch professional league. Think like the NBA, but for Overwatch. So each and I think it's only US right now. I think they're going to expand. So it's region-based, city-based. So I live near San Francisco. There will be a San Francisco Overwatch team.
Damn.
And basically the way they recruit is through the leaderboards of the actual game. So if you're like just really, really good at the game, you will get approached by Blizzard to become a professional player.
Wow.
And
I didn't know
if you do end up signing a contract with them, you will A, receive a paycheck, but you're not going to stay home. B, you have to go to training camp with coaches and anything else you would ever kind of imagine, you know, in an NBA setting where they go to like, you know, physical therapy and stuff like that. They will have, you know, they'll be required to like go to training days with their teammates and all that stuff. Then they actually have to play in the games, and they will have their own finals basically at BlizzCon. Like the Overwatch World Cup will be like the thing at BlizzCon. It will be the end of the league. The league will have seasons and like all these things and like game schedules, which who'd have thunk there'd be game schedules in an esports league? Am I right? It's like,
this is blowing my mind to the level of which, like, I had heard about it, and I was like, oh, that sounds like the right move for Blizzard to do. But now that I'm hearing you talk about it, it's like, Jesus, they're going like more than all in.
They're making this Overwatch, honestly, is their, like, StarCraft was their biggest game, and they treated StarCraft like really well as an esport. It was really fun to watch, and like the audiences are really engaged and stuff. But now that it's kind of like falling off, it's like Heroes is kind of there, but even the Heroes scene is starting to fade a little.
Right.
It's still there, and people still watch it, and there's still a lot of tournaments and all that, and it's great. It's a great game, but it's just kind of like not living up to like a League or a Dota.
Yeah.
It's almost like League and Dota's little brother, kind of.
I feel you.
But Overwatch has really like cemented itself in esports. It's outpaced League of Legends in South Korea. It's like more popular than League of Legends in South Korea.
Wow.
It's always at the top of Twitch directories. It's getting really good traffic for tournaments. More and more tournaments are popping up. This makes so much sense, and it's gonna mean that like this game could be around for 10, 20 years in a competitive level if something like this ends up being successful.
Blizzard
like I can imagine
so much money to
being
throw around if this is happening. Blizzard must have so much money to throw around if this is happening.
Dude, Activision Blizzard's huge.
That Blizzard money must be stupid.
But also, remember that just a year ago, Activision bought MLG.
Right.
So,
oh my god.
So this is more Activision than Blizzard.
And we all knew the minute they bought that, they said, Blizzard games are finally going to get a step up in their production. They're going to do something. Here it is. The
Gosh,
Overwatch
I never
League.
made that connection. Jesus fuck.
We've been waiting for this for a while. The whole Destiny community was even like, Activision bought it. Like, maybe they'll have a league for Destiny. And I'm like, y'all getting ahead of yourselves.
Yeah, y'all need to calm down.
A man can dream. A man can
I'm
dream.
you know, Blizzard is going to be where it's at. They make all their games to be esports at this point. Right. I mean, they still make like story stuff, but at the same time, like, that's a lot of their focus. Like, this is going to be huge. So I'm very excited for the future of the Overwatch League. I look forward to repping San Francisco Overwatch team, whatever they're called. I would laugh so hard if they're named the Demons.
Wow.
Because do you remember XFL? That was our team.
Oh my god, the XFL.
Yeah, the Demons. It was like the San Francisco Demons or something.
Wasn't that from the guy that did the WWE?
Some shit, yeah.
Jesus.
And they had one season.
All right,
because nobody gave a shit, huh?
That is very true. It was a fragment, or not fragment. It was a moment in time.
Yeah, it really was a moment, and I remember my dad talking about it because my dad loves football.
Yeah.
And I remember my dad at the time like talking about it, and he was saying like how weird it was, and how it just was not ever gonna catch on because he's like it's just way too like, I don't know.
It's fucking weird.
I don't know. Yeah, Overwatch League. I don't know when it starts. I don't know that they've said. They basically all they did was just announce it, and then they just kind of like hyped it up and said like this is like gonna be a big fucking deal, and I'm like, this is going to be a big fucking deal. This is gonna rival things like E-League on TBS. Like this is gonna be
honestly,
huge.
yeah, it feels like it.
Yeah, this is gonna be absolutely gigantic. So, and it's a huge step forward for esports. It's kind of what it needed, honestly. I've been saying this for years.
Yeah, I was about to say, remember when we were talking about this, like, I don't know, it had been months ago, years ago, I mean, at this point, a year ago, maybe at this point, that, like, you know, we want to see a world where, like, competitive video gaming is viewed in, like, a very legitimate way and in a very normal way. Like, we're starting to see this now. Like, this is
happening, yeah.
It's happening.
Steps are being taken.
Step. Sorry.
It's funny too because when I was writing about esports for Gamehouse, shout out to Gamehouse, I was talking to like family members and stuff who were asking what I was up to last summer because I was interning for them. Yeah. And I would tell them that I wrote about esports, and they would be very confused, and they'd be like, "I don't understand." Like why people want to watch other people play video games, and then I would use Counter-Strike as an example, and I'd break it down, and I'd talk about how there's coaches and there's like a whole meta game and stuff, and then I'd like even tell them about why it's like football, because I'm like, football on the surface, it's like the average viewer knows that a touchdown is good, but they don't exactly know what a blitz is, and they don't need to know. But if you're like way into football and you know the inner mechanics of football, like you'll have that experience as well.
Right.
I'm like, games like Counter-Strike are a lot like that. All the average person knows is that when someone gets shot, it's either good or bad, you know. But there's this whole economic metagame round to round that like people who play the game a lot will totally understand, and they'll have like a different view of like what's happening on screen and stuff. So it's good for both parties. Like when I break that down for them, they start to go, "Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I didn't think about it that way." So it's like, I wrote a whole article about this too while I was there, where I was like, I don't think esports needs legitimacy, quote unquote, in the sense that like people think like you're never going to get the guy who watches football every Sunday to give a shit. You're never going to get that.
Right.
And the point is like League of Legends championships are like getting more views than the NBA finals. Like we've already got there.
Yeah,
it's just a point of like having it have more. It just kind of needs to grow up.
It's a matter
honestly.
of just not giving a shit about ESPN. Really, that's really what what it is.
Well, that too, but it just needs to grow up. It's a very young kind of thing, and a lot of the casters like say stuff that like if anyone said these things on ESPN, they'd be fucking fired the next day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
Disney
you can't do that. You can't have this. You need to move in like a sense of professionalism. I think Blizzard handles all their esports games because a lot of them are handled in-house. They handle them so well. They're like such professional productions, and the casters and stuff they get usually are not like that. There have been some like instances where things happen, but for the most part, like the people at BlizzCon are like really professional.
Yeah.
And I think that the Overwatch League, which has just consumed so much more time than I thought it would, is like such a gigantic, huge step for just esports as a whole, and it's going to be awesome. It's a big deal. It's a way bigger deal than I think most people are.
For sure, I had understated how much I thought, how important I thought this was anyway.
Yeah, this is going to be huge.
All right, Josh's Blizzard, I guess. Building.
Yeah,
that's just a corner anymore.
Yeah, there's a lot more nuance stuff, but like I haven't had time to watch the panels yet, and honestly, we've been on this for a while, and this is only news story 2 out of 3. So
that is true.
Let's like kind of rifle through this next one just so we can get
the point is Blizzard is awesome. All right, next one, we're gonna run through this a little bit more quicker. Don't worry, there's not a whole lot I guess we can even talk about. Just thought it was gonna have an interesting discussion around it. Have you guys heard of a game called RimWorld?
Nope.
Yep.
All right, so let's run through this. So yeah, for you, Dave, and any listeners, if you haven't already heard, RimWorld is a sci-fi colony management game where you try to survive in a distant alien world. It also, unfortunately, seems to be the center of a lot of controversy. Rock, Paper, Shotgun performed an investigation on RimWorld's code, which revealed an unsettling way the game determines romantic relationships between colony citizens in the game. So to try to explain this as best as I can, I figured it'd be just easier if I read a bit from the actual piece. So I've got like a couple paragraphs here. Okay. Reed's having a bad day. Her spaceship crashed. She's one of 3 survivors, and the other 2 won't stop hitting on her. Unfortunately for her, she's beautiful, which means they're immediately enamored with her. Unfortunately for them, she's gay, which means the feeling is definitely not mutual. Her life is a constant hellish stream of corny pickup lines and work for the colony. We can see that the pickup lines don't get her down. She receives no penalty to her mood for being barraged by come-ons, but the 2 men, Rob and Boots, feel differently. They have a near permanent mood and relationship penalty for Reed because they keep asking her out and keep getting rebuffed. But it's not really their fault. Rob and Boots can't stop hitting on her because they're men and because she's just so gosh darn pretty. More precisely, that's how they've been programmed. The piece continued by describing the game's systems in detail, saying that, like, okay, so men are 8 times as likely as women to try to start a romance. Pawns, which are like the citizens with disabilities, will always be less attractive. There are no bisexual men and only bisexual or gay women, and so on. So in as simple of a way as possible to describe this, the game uses gay people as a mechanical problem for the sustainability of your colony. So it is getting tons and tons. I should also note the developer shot back at Rock, Paper, Shotgun in a massive Reddit post that went into detail, refuting every single point in the original story. They claimed it was a moralistic witch hunt. You can go read that on Reddit if you so choose. I personally don't agree with anything. Yeah, so this has been crazy.
Also, I have heard that that guy is like a gamer gator or whatever.
Yeah, the actual developer has been under hot water lately just because of his own political views, which seems to line up with the rest of this shit. Not to mention, or also to mention, the top topics on the subreddit are pretty much people trying to discuss how to get rid of gay people, which in and of itself is a really troubling discussion to have, but it's based in the context of the game. So it is essentially simulating just a place where all of the hate-filled stuff that I would assume this guy has is sort of played out in this fantasy reality.
And from what I understand, I didn't get a chance to read the whole Rock, Paper, Shotgun article, but I had heard that she had actually dug through the code to find these things before she wrote the article. And she also mentions in the article that it's an early access game and that it's not done, which is
That's true. Yeah.
What he was like, this is an early access game, it's not done, even though she says that in the article. But she, like, the whole point of her article was to point out how, like, even our, like, fundamental beliefs can influence something as crazy as, like, video game code. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Which is kind of fascinating. I've never thought of that before.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
yeah, at least in this context for me, yeah, it's totally.
Yeah, it's like, what does, like, if I would, you know, I don't like to put labels on myself, but I'd say I'm mostly like a libertarian. If I, like, I've never thought about the idea that, like, my libertarian atheistic beliefs might influence something I created. You know what I mean? Or, you know, like, I may have injected my beliefs into a piece of software I made and not even realized. Or maybe I did realize. I don't know. But I've never thought about that before. I thought that was really fascinating. But yeah, it is very troubling, especially all the stuff about, like, I read one thing where it was like, I personally just don't let gay people into my colony. And I'm like, well, that's fucked up.
Yeah.
You know?
the conversations around this game are so weird.
Well, I mean, to put it in short for me, I've never heard of this game, and I'm glad I'm honestly, I feel worse having known it exists now, because I just don't, I have no interest in playing it, and I hope it, you know, disappears off the face of the earth.
Honestly, it doesn't even seem like a game you'd like.
Exactly.
It's like a sim heavy, like,
strategy. Just give me more reasons to not like it. Good. I like it. That's why I like you.
But there is a giant robot, Dave. No, I'm just joking.
If there was a giant robot, he'd be all over it.
It's like, oh shit! No, I have to.
I'm sure the gay people understand. I gotta.
The kids understand. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
There's a robot.
I don't think they would understand.
Oh, Jesus. All right, but yeah, just get that out of the way. Just a little thing. I guess everybody should be cognizant of. Anyway, so very interesting story this week. That leads us finally to our topic of the week. So I've been thinking about this topic for a while. As you all know, I've been playing a ton of Saturn games recently, like more so than normal. You know, I've run into a few absolutely amazing games.
I was like, you have to specify because you always play
exactly. Yeah, games. Like of course, Kyle's playing Saturn games, but you know, it's like I'm delving into this library pretty wholeheartedly. Like a couple of games that I just like never played before that I'm actually like really diving into. Some of them are like pretty popular. Panzer Dragoon Saga, Shining the Holy Ark.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've heard of those games before, but like Magic Knight Ray Earth is this sweet little JRPG that I'm actually really adoring. You know, I could just go on and on. That could be the whole topic in and of itself if I wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But specifically, I tried out a game that I've actually heard about for a very long time, never got the chance to play it. It's called Bulk Slash. So, Bulk Slash, for anybody who doesn't know, and this is why I thought about this, it just made me think of Dave so crazy hard, because it is a mecha game in which you explore like this sort of city environment. It's sort of level by level, and then there's an objective to complete. So there are like things that you need to destroy in the city. You need to protect like maybe a ship that's flying out, stuff like that. And your actual mecha can transform into a plane. And so there's like 2 levels of the gameplay going on at once. And personally, I am fucking loving it. It's amazing. I think it feels so crazy to play on the Saturn because it's a fully 3D game running on the Saturn, which is pretty abnormal. Only a few games really were able to do that. But Bulk Slash in particular has also a very big fault, which is the only reason why I would not consider telling Dave to just jump right into this game, because A, I love Saturn, you love mecha, it's a marriage made in heaven.
Exactly.
Let's go fuck.
Hive mind.
I'm sorry, that took a weird turn.
No, it's pretty typical. Kyle. Keep going.
So as we're fucking and playing Bulk Slash at the same time, the problem that it has with the controls is, you guys know what the Sega Saturn controller looks like. It is essentially a Genesis controller. It has A, B, C, and then X, Y, Z above that, and then 2 shoulder buttons.
Mm-hmm.
So it has a D-pad for movement, but it only allows you to move left, right, forward, back. So you're strafing. And to turn, you have to use the shoulder buttons. And because this is a fully 3D realized game, that makes things really complicated. Now, for myself, I got over that hurdle And personally, I feel like you can get over any control hurdle you want to and then find the game that's underneath it. But because I know Dave, it's like, I feel like he would hate it.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's completely true, but I just feel like he wouldn't have very much fun with it. So it made me think of this topic. Games that you love, but you can't necessarily recommend for whatever reason. So that's my starting point. Do you guys have any examples before we dive into more?
Yeah, I have a pretty big example for this topic. So, a game that I put about 1,000 hours into and absolutely adore, even though I do not play it anymore because it's such a big time sink. Dota 2. I think Dota 2 is not for the faint of heart.
Yeah, I can totally understand why you say that.
Yeah, it is incredibly dense. It is the most complicated, just like junkyard with, I don't know, it's so hard to explain. It's just such a crazy mishmash of ideas that for some reason works so beautifully. And it's gonna take you like a good 20 hours of putting up with like sexists and racists and people that hate you for you to like kind of start to get like what's going on, even just at a mechanical level.
It's where you go, community?
Oh yeah, the community is horrible.
Well, I mean,
if you have like four friends to play with that are also gonna, you know, stick by you in the best of times and the worst of times, then it's gonna be a lot better. You're gonna have a way better time. Like some of the most fun I had in Dota is when you have like a full stack and you're playing for like just hours and having the time of your life, win or lose. But it is like I've described it before. It's rocket science, the game. I had 1,000 hours in it, and there were still, I felt like I was still learning. Like every game felt totally different, totally new. Like the way that there's like 100 characters, and each of them like have their own, you know, roles and areas of expertise, and just it's so just daunting. And it's like if you can get into it, there's a beautiful thing underneath all that, whatever you want to call it. But I would be hard pressed to recommend it to anyone because it's like so hard to even just get your foot in the door to kind of like see any glimmer of beauty in it. But like,
is it just because it's a mechanically complicated game?
Oh my god, it is so complicated. And also just because it's like 10 years old and it's relying on like these metas and these like map mechanics and just things that people have been doing for 10 years that they feel like are so ingrained into the game they don't need to explain it to you. You should know it, you know?
Yeah.
And then they'll get mad at you for like not knowing what creep polling is, for not knowing what denying is, for not knowing how to farm a jungle, or not knowing, you know, every 2 minutes to go check the rune spawns and like fight for the rune spawns and like buy a bottle and manage the courier. Like it gets it gets fucking insane. I'm telling you right now, it gets fucking insane. But when you learn like all of the basics and really get down to it and start to kind of understand what the characters do and stuff, good googly moogly. It is.
There we go.
Incredible, but really hard for me to recommend. Like you have to really want it. It's like one of those games where you like really, really have to want to get into it.
Right.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's my one. I bet I could think of more, but right now that's my one.
So would you call it maybe oh god, what's the right word? Is it just like you still think it's a great game and the only reason you're not recommending it to people is just because it's a difficult game to get into?
Yeah,
I'm not recommending it.
Yeah, I'm not recommending it to people because it is like a 20 to 100 hour commitment until you start sort of saying, like, until it kind of like, you know, you click over and go, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And then after that, it's like downhill. It's a steep ass hill, but once you get up the hill, you roll down with such force that like you will play that game like I did for like 2.5 years, like religiously.
Jesus.
So, it's just like never gets old. Like it's that's what's kind of crazy about it. It just never gets old. But again, it's like so complicated, and the community is so awful that even they themselves are like something you have to like really get over, you know?
Has a learning curve to their community.
Yeah, it's bad. Like I think Dota 2 is the worst, some of the worst stuff like I've seen in a video game. It's pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, PC gaming, man. It's just
where all that shit goes. So weird going from like that to something like Destiny, where it's like communities raising like $500,000 for charity and shit, and then you go to Dota and it's just a bunch of like sexist assholes calling you the N-word, you know?
Yeah.
It's like weird. It's bad. It's bad. It's like 4chan the video game. But if you can get past that, there's a beautiful game in there behind all the community. It's not that, you know, why I struggle to talk about the community in the game though is because they're not actually part of the game. Like they're not, you know,
right, yeah.
They're not built into the mechanics of the game. So like if you were to like in a vacuum, like Dota as a game is like, you know, absolutely excellent. So
do you I don't know, that actually reminds me a little bit of not the community aspect of it, but Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is like my favorite.
Oh yeah,
one of my favorite 2D fighting games.
Yeah,
that's a good point that you're about to make.
I would do what?
That you would not recommend Marvel vs. Capcom 2 to gamers.
Yeah, not at all. That is an angering, inducing game.
Yeah,
Jesus fucking
you
Christ,
will be just spanked across the map constantly.
Yeah, it's by the fucking computer, no less.
Yeah, exactly.
The first arcade stage, like there's so much to just like try to figure out that it's really. I mean, I remember the first time I played it, it was in an arcade, and just fucking blew me away, and I was addicted to it. So because of that, it helped me get invested. But for someone who is perhaps not played a maybe even a fighting game from that time period, because I feel fighting games these days much more lenient on just getting you into the experience. Perhaps mastering it, of course, is another problem in and of itself. But yeah, Marvel vs. Capcom 2 looks like it would be an appealing game for somebody who doesn't normally play games, just because it has fucking Wolverine, I know him, you know, or it has like fucking Ryu, and like I used to play Street Fighter. Yeah, exactly. Like all these characters, and it is deceptive as fuck on that avenue. Because like interesting story enough, I went back to there's this store in my town called Slackers, and it's sort of like nerd culture stuff. I buy a lot of records there, a lot of just used goods, and I picked up a copy of what I thought was Marvel vs. Capcom 1 for the Dreamcast, and I was like, okay, I've never had it. I've played it before, and it's super similar, actually the third game in the series, and I ran it up to the cash register. They pulled out the disc, and then I was like, that's Marvel vs. Capcom 2. So they start panicking. They can't find the disc for Marvel vs. Capcom 1. So they're like, do you want to buy it at this price? Because 2 runs a little bit more expensive. Not that much, but you know, it's still a little bit more pricey. So I walked out with a good deal, popped it into my Dreamcast, and I was like, this is fucking ridiculously more difficult than I thought it was going to be. I actually jumped into the 360 re-release that was on like Xbox Live and PSN. That plays so much different, at least in like the arcade CPU stuff. It's just like, Jesus, this is a very interesting, like with the space and time separated, just seeing how fucking difficult that game is. It just really blew me away anyway.
Yeah, for a while we had for a while around when Street Fighter 4 like first came out, my friends and I had like a kind of a fighting game like gathering group every week that we would hang out and like drink beer and play Street Fighter and stuff.
Yeah.
And for a while we got really hooked on Marvel vs. Capcom 2, and like we were all really bad at it, you know, in the beginning. But then you gave it 2 months of everyone exchanging strategies and like reading up on it. We got pretty fucking good at that game, and yeah, it's pretty complicated. Like. But I think that's also why it's survived to this day.
There's a lot of complexity and depth in that fighting system, which I definitely have always found very appealing. It's difficult because like I think about another 2D fighting game that I respect maybe more. Like all of the Arc System Works games, I think, are just fucking phenomenal. Blaze Blue, Guilty Gear, like those are series that are so but like they're so impenetrable that I would never ever tell anyone, even someone who's hardcore about games, like, no, don't worry about it. You know, like even Persona, you know, fucking Arena, Like, if you like Persona a lot, maybe give it a try. But if you're not, just don't touch it, because it's a difficult
game. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's a difficult system to learn. Marvel vs. Capcom, if it was just a 1v1 fighter, you could eventually figure it out, because you're also juggling assists, different types of assists, supers, so much fucking stuff that it makes the simplicity of the base layer of that fighting system deceiving on how fucking depth it can go. It's fucking insane, especially with the amount of different characters that are in there that are reused assets, quite frankly, from the other 3 games in that series. It's just insane. But fuck,
yeah,
is it good?
Oh yeah,
I agree. And I've had it described to me too as like your team comp, because like for people who've lived under a rock and have for some reason never played any of the Marvel vs. Capcom games, you pick more than one character. You pick 3, 2 in the first one, right? It's just 2, and then
which sounds like an amazing idea. Like, it is an amazing idea, but it sounds like something like every nerd's come true. Like, I can pick a team like these Marvel and Capcom guys.
Like,
that's awesome.
Captain America, Spider-Man.
Yeah, no,
like that one.
You're gonna pick
robot chick from Mega Man Legends.
Yeah,
this is the great.
You're gonna pick the worst team, and people are gonna shit on you.
Yep.
Yeah. But the amazing thing about that game too is that like any team comp has like counters and stuff, and there's characters who are widely considered like the best, like Magneto you see like all the time because he's so powerful, and like the Sentinel, he's so powerful, you see him all the time, but like those characters have counters, and like really unorthodox team comps can like work, and it's almost like a like a deck in a card game. Like you can always create like these different and like variety.
That's a really good analogy.
Things. Yeah.
Deck of a card game. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's why the game survived. Yeah. If somebody was like, I have never played a fighting game, which fighting game should I play? Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is not the one I would recommend.
No.
But if you've been playing like like Mortal Kombat for a couple years, and you're like, Mortal Kombat's not all that deep, I want to get to a deeper game, I'd be like, Marvel vs. Capcom 2, bruh. That's where you got to go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the only situation where I would recommend that game.
That or Tekken, because apparently Tekken is like the top-selling fighting game in the world or something.
I do like Tekken a lot. Not good at it, but I do like it.
Yeah, I haven't played one since I was like 10. So
dude.
I have no idea.
1, 4. I fucking love those two.
Yeah, I have no idea. I have like no frame of reference for Tekken.
Me neither. I only heard of it, never played it.
But I was surprised recently when this one podcaster I listened to said that he's like really into fighting games. I always assumed Street Fighter was the top, number 1 world, but no, it's Tekken. It's like, wow. And apparently Street Fighter 5 sold abysmally.
Oh yeah. Well, that's like outside of it, I think, just because of the game was very light when it came out.
Yeah. I thought it sold decent, and then somebody was telling me it was like
nope,
like 100,000 copies or something. I was like, whoa,
it's something really shitty.
Yeah, it's something pretty bad.
Dave, do you have any?
I'm
thinking of another one.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're both going to be coming up with some Dreamcast titles, Kyle, because there are a couple of amazing games that we love but would not recommend for various reasons. The game I'm going to recommend is not because it's difficult. That's not the reason I'm going to be talking about this game. And this is going to come as a shock to you guys, because I tout its glory all the time. Talk about how much I love it.
Glory.
But I love it, but I cannot recommend Jet Set Radio.
Oh my god. Because why not?
Well, Jet Set Radio, a lot of my nostalgia for Jet Set Radio clouts the reality of it for the most part, is that the game doesn't control very well anymore. Like, it's really, and I notice it especially when I'm playing the Vita version, I can notice it a lot. It's just that like some of the stuff just isn't super accurate, and you end up like jumping over rails and stuff. Like, you'll hit the X button, like, okay, I'm gonna grind, never mind, I missed the rail. It's a lot of that stuff.
Yeah. And
the directionals are not so great. Like, it's very difficult to navigate in that game now, having played better games with better navigation, and also having played a game that I would recommend to anyone and it's an old game that I would still recommend, Jet Set Radio Future. That game is much better against, like, when it comes to standing the test of time. Jet Set Radio 1 is, quite frankly, control-wise, it's a mess. Doesn't mean I don't love it. I do. But it's just one of those games where, like, if you're trying to get why people love Jet Set Radio, play Future. Don't play the first one.
But I am quite honestly surprised.
You didn't think I was going to say that?
I did not.
Yeah. I mean, it's basically, we've talked about this before, where I know that my nostalgia, like, kind of clouts my my feelings of Jet Set Radio, and that, you know, objectively speaking, the second one is a lot better.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense, though. I see where you're coming from. Because, I mean, yeah, every time I return to that game, it's like, it does show its age a little bit. It's sort of like a, you know, Crazy Taxi. Like, I love Crazy Taxi, but, like, going back to the game is like, this is how games controlled. Like, that's a more extreme case, I would say, but...
Yeah.
How come no one's made, Sega especially, like, just a $10 version of Crazy Taxi? Like, a new one.
You would imagine it'd be easy, right?
I think they would, but they just don't. I
think it's just because Crazy Taxi was for arcades, so whenever arcades sort of died out here, they were like, okay, let's not deal with it. I don't know. There's another game I've actually been thinking about a lot.
Which one?
So this is a game that I fucking adore. I genuinely think it's like a masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I would never tell anyone to play it, really, because I think it's so hard. It took me 3 times to play through the first mission in the game before I could understand what was happening, and long after that before it clicked. I've talked about it before. The Silver Case just got re-released.
Oh my god, dude! The Game Informer like replay video. That is
That is a perfect thing to just like. If you haven't seen that, and if you like Game Informer, definitely go watch it. But
oh my god,
it's a great
so
exploration
funny.
on why that game is so fucking impenetrable.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Suda51's first game with Grasshopper Manufacturer, which is his independent studio, and Suda51 has been making games before that. This is essentially, I think it's his second game in his like pseudo sequel or trilogy sort of thing. Like they're loosely related, not maybe. It's weird, but the point is that it is it's hard to pigeonhole it into a genre just because they were ridiculously poor. It was their first game at Grasshopper, so they were like, okay, let's create this unique engine that can make us do a couple of weird things that will help it out. So like we don't have to perhaps render giant 3D environments, or we don't have to create all this art, right? So it's a combination of a visual novel and like an adventure game. And I know that's pretty standard these days. You know, you look at Steins Gate, you look at perhaps even like the Zero Escape games do a lot of visual novel-y stuff. But for the Silver Case, it's psychological. It's weird as fuck. It doesn't make a lick of sense for a very long time. Like Josh, you were bringing up that replay episode from Game Informer. They play through the first couple of, I want to say 40 minutes of the game. That's like the first mission, right? There is a lot of just text that you have to read. It's it's just setting up an aesthetic. It's setting up an atmosphere. And by the time you get to the actual gameplay, here is how you play the game, right? So it's based in what they call the film window engine. So imagine how like a blank screen, and then pop a window on that takes up maybe about 1/3 of the screen, and that is how you can see where you are in 3D space. So you can see like the stuff that's in front of you, all that rendered in 3D. There is a box in the corner that is called the wheel menu box, and then there is another box which just shows like what you're looking at, describes things for you. So you select from the wheel menu, you select M for movement, that brings up a D-pad, and you can move that D-pad to move the 3D space from the top window in like a sort of grid-based movement system. It's really weird. It takes about 10 minutes, I would say, to grasp completely, because like it also introduces it very weird where you don't know if they're talking to the character directly or if they're talking to you on how to control stuff. It's very, very weird. But Jesus Christ, like I reviewed this game. I fucking compared it to Ulysses, for God's sake. Like this is a game that it's all about a murder mystery. Perhaps the plot itself is nothing to really tout about, but it has very interesting characters. It's like a story worthy in a game. I'm not saying the story is amazing, but how that story is told is something that I've never ever experienced in a video game before. It is done through an innovative way, which has never been done before either. either before or since then because of how difficult that film window engine is. It was all based on the fact that they had no money. Suda51 himself is, you know, a pretty interesting dude. So any game that he makes is interesting based off of that. On top of the fact, there are 2 simultaneous storylines going on. You can play Transmitter, which is the main story, or you can play fucking Placebo, which is the secondary story, which follows it closely. It is such a weird, strange experience. And for me, these are the games that I fucking love. Weird ass experience. I was actually going to put another game that I just recently have been looking into. Have you guys watched Region Locked on YouTube?
No.
Sorry. No.
So Region Locked, it's run by the guys that do fucking, what is it? I'm blanking on their name. Did You Know Gaming? It's like the same channel.
Yeah.
So Region Locked just looks at weird Japanese games. There's a game that they looked at called LSD. It's a dream emulator. It's one of those weird games that like makes no sense. I fucking love these. So for me, the Silver Case is probably, I would put it maybe top 20 games I've ever played, but I could never ever tell anyone like, hey, pick up the Silver Case. Because like, no, don't, because it makes no sense. I played a little bit of it in front of my girlfriend. She's like, what the fuck? Your nickname in the game, I kid you not, is Big Dick. That's how they refer to you. It's a fucking weird ass game, but that's my cherry on top.
Interesting. But yeah, I'm gonna say like that. I know you had talked about it or whatever, and I was just like, okay, that sounds interesting. And then I watched that Game Informer video, and oh my god, it's so funny. And yeah, even after watching that, I was like, I could never play this game. This is just like not a game I would like. But like, God, that video is so funny. You know what, man? Funny. Their YouTube content is on point, and it does not get enough love.
Game Informer's amazing, dude. Yeah,
I know. Their YouTube stuff is so good, and yeah.
Did you watch their Extra Life stream?
No.
Pretty funny stuff. I'm not gonna lie. Pretty funny.
Yeah, those guys are cool.
Does anyone else have any last minute additions before we?
I'm gonna talk about. I'm gonna talk about the one that I think you said you were gonna say, but I guess you weren't saying now. But so you had another Dreamcast title. You had another game.
Oh, I was giving that to you as a recommendation.
Oh, okay.
I would totally recommend it, but go on. Not to undercut all that.
You know, I'm gonna hold back. It's not something that I strictly want to say I wouldn't recommend. It's like
now everyone's gonna be like, "What is David gonna say?"
So this one, I wouldn't say I won't recommend, but I'll say be cautious about. Okay. And it's one of the games it's one of the first games I ever played on the Dreamcast, and I absolutely fucking loved it back then. But playing it now, I'm starting to see some of the holes in the way it plays. Although I'm actually having an easier time playing it now than I did as a kid. So, I don't know about that. The game I'm talking about is Sonic Adventure. Sonic Adventure.
Gasp.
It's a lot of the things that people throw at the Sonic franchise now are present in Sonic Adventure.
That's very true.
A lot of bad cameras, a lot of random deaths. A lot of the stuff the reason why I can even play Sonic Adventure relatively well is because I played it so many fucking times. I just have it memorized. I hesitate to recommend it, but I can't fully commit to saying no, I don't recommend this. The Sonic, and I say the Sonic, the Tails, and I'd say the E102 sections. Those three sections, and I know a lot of people disagree with me on E102, but I really like all three of those. Where I'd say
like
Knuckles. I mean, I hate the Knuckles searching for treasure thing. I hate that.
Yeah,
it's so dumb, and I'm glad they got rid of it.
Well, not the worst in that game.
Not the worst, because then we have Big the fucking cat.
I can't handle Amy either. I feel like it's a little sexist as well, but that's another thing.
Yeah, well, Amy, I mean, they're kind of more like the Sonic, and she's kind of more like the Sonic and Tails levels, but it's just like slowed down a little bit. Which
she's just running from somebody.
She's running from the robot the entire
Yeah, it's very weird.
Yeah, it's I didn't hate her section as much, but I just don't think it holds up as well as like Tails and Knuckles. Tails and E102 and Sonic. Those
Tails and Knuckles.
granted, Tails is just a replaying of Sonic stuff, but you just have to race Sonic instead of
Right.
Yeah, it really wasn't much to that. Whereas I don't know. Like, I feel like only having the fact that I can only say that I recommend half of this game puts it in that territory. That's really, whereas like I still love and I love this about Sonic Adventure 2 as well, like the atmosphere of Sonic Adventure, like the overall aesthetic, the music, the character designs at the time. I mean, they look stupid now, but
it's a jolly game.
Yeah, it's a fantastic game. I love it in that regard. But if I can only say that, well, play this game, but only play these three stories, and just kind of hold your nose through the other three, and then you'll get to this awesome thing with Supersonic, which is also kind of broken.
Oh, gosh, I waited so long to get to that part, like literal years.
Yeah,
and then finally I get to it, and it's like, this is trash.
Yeah, I mean, like, I still enjoyed it just simply for the fact that you're basically Super Saiyan Sonic, but it's also just incredibly stupid. It's not stupid. It's kind of broken, and I remember it being very, very hard as a kid, and still having difficulty with it as an adult. So yeah, so we even put that in there to lump that into the not recommend. So 4 out of the 7 parts of this game are not recommended. So it's like,
right.
But it's not like I can't say that like you won't enjoy this game, because you will. You know what I'm saying?
I think if you don't already have a predisposition against Sonic, you'll have fun. But
yeah,
I mean, this episode's getting fucking long.
Yeah,
which I was not expecting, because we only had a few things to talk about. So let's cut this a little bit short.
Yeah.
Do you guys have any farewells you want to say before we get out of here?
I'll say at the time of recording that Donald Trump is leading electorally right now, 238 to 200, I think. He has won Ohio, Florida, and North Carolina, and I am.
All right, so
I have a message.
When this goes up, we'll know.
Yeah,
so we broke the pact.
Yeah, there's
my sigh was a silent.
Yeah, my I have to clean up my
way of expressing it.
I gotta clean up my chair when we're done recording.
Much poop.
It's a lot of poop.
Shit.
There's a lot of poop.
Shit on.
Hey, look, we all do it sometimes, all right? Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Geek Tank podcast.
And quite possibly the last.
Exactly. This may be it. You may be listening to this on a scorched earth, a remnant from another time. But this is a show, regardless, where we dive into the trenches of the video game industry, give you our brutally honest opinions. You can find us on YouTube, iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and every other platform every single week. If you like listening to this, please make sure to leave us a like or a favorite. Just let us know you enjoy our show, because whether it's your first or your 23rd time listening in, you're an honorary member of the battalion. Thanks, guys, for listening. It has been a pleasure. We will see you, hopefully, next time. Bye-bye.